I'm Stuart McIntosh with the BBC News. Hello. The World Health Organization has called for urgent action on the growing number of monkeypox cases in Europe. There's been a surge in cases outside African countries. The WHO's Hans Kluge said 90% of all confirmed cases are now in Europe. Naomi Grimley reports.
Dr. Hans Kluge said he was concerned that monkeypox cases have tripled in Europe in the last 2 weeks, with more than 4,500 infections recorded. He said most of the cases had been in men, but some children had fallen ill too. Blister-like lesions and rashes are the most common symptoms of the virus, which is transmitted through close skin-on-skin contact. The World Health Organization has so far stopped short of declaring the situation an international public health emergency.
President Biden says the federal government will act to protect women's rights if state governments seek to prevent them travelling to get an abortion. Speaking after a meeting with Democratic governors, Mr. Biden said Americans would be shocked when a state tried to arrest a woman for crossing a state line.
Last week, I announced 2 specific actions. First, if extremist governors try to block a woman from traveling from her state that prohibits her from seeking medical help she needs to a state that provides that care, the federal government will act to protect her bedrock rights through the Attorney General's office. Second, if states try to block a woman from getting medication the FDA has already approved and has been available for more than 20 years, my administration will act and protect that woman's right to that medication.
Germany has signed an agreement with Nigeria to return more than 1,000 sculptures and carvings looted during the colonial era. The first 2 artefacts were handed over at a ceremony in Berlin. Germany's culture minister, Claudia Roth, said her country acknowledged that colonial injustices had left scars still visible today.
As a federal government and as a country, we acknowledge the horrific outrages committed under colonial rule. We acknowledge the murders and plundering. We acknowledge the racism and slavery.
The Benin bronzes were looted by British troops from the Kingdom of Benin, then auctioned to museums in the West. Russian forces continue their assault on Lysychansk, the only city in the Luhansk region still under Ukrainian control. Ukraine's military says its forces have repulsed attempts to conduct reconnaissance near a gelatin factory. There's also been fighting over an oil refinery. Russia's defence ministry says its forces control both facilities, claims Ukraine rejects. World News from the BBC. Protesters have stormed Libya's parliament in the eastern city of Tobruk. People across the country have been demonstrating against continuing power cuts, rising prices and political deadlock. Aina Aslam reports.
The protesters reportedly set fire to part of the parliament building after breaking in. Images posted online show thick columns of smoke as some demonstrators burned tires outside. At a rally in the capital Tripoli, where a rival administration holds sway, people called for elections to take place. The unrest comes a day after UN-brokered talks in Geneva, aimed at paving the way for a ballot, ended with little progress. Libya has been in chaos since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that ousted Muammar Gaddafi.
The Gambia has banned timber exports and revoked all export licences to try to combat illegal logging. The port authorities have been instructed to refuse loading timber logs onto any vessel. The Gambia has struggled for more than a decade with the trafficking of rosewood, listed as an endangered species. World leaders gathered at a UN conference on the oceans have called for the seas to be given greater protection. The UN Special Envoy for the Ocean said that overfishing and the dumping of plastic rubbish were damaging the health of the marine environment, leading to a loss of biodiversity and threatening aquatic food chains and the ocean's capacity to absorb carbon. Tourists on day trips to Venice will, from January, be charged an entrance fee and will have to book their visit in advance. The historic Italian city is the first in the world to announce the measure. The new toll will be between $3 and $10, with fines of up to $300 for anyone caught not having paid. Venetian officials say the system is needed to regulate the huge number of visitors and to pay for cleaning up the mess that they leave behind. That's the BBC News.